Hello my creative friends. It's been a while since I've done a video for you. I have been suffering from vertigo and allergies and fluid buildup in my inner ear, and if you're at all interested in finding out what's been going on with me, go ahead and check out my blog. Mostly June 2013, a little bit in May, a little bit in July, and you'll find out what's been going on with me. So I'm glad to be back, feeling much better and making cards and filming a video for you. While I was really ill, I had to find somebody to cover for me at work, and the first time I passed out, my friend had like 15 minutes, 30 minutes notice, and she just went and took care of it and covered for me and then filled in for me when I got worse again. And I just wanted to send her an extra special thank you. So I made this card with her in mind. And once I was feeling better, I was out working in the yard and watering my flowers and things, and my neighbor came out and I let her know what had been going on with me. The next day she came over with this lovely lavender, I want to call it lilac, but it's lavender. Isn't it pretty? And it just blessed my heart so much that I wanted to send her a little thank you as well. So I made a second card, very similar to the first. There's a little bit of difference in the colors I used. If I turn it over, you can see. And on the inside. So for my first video back, I thought I would show you some tips on how I created these cards. The first thing you're going to want to do is to start out with your standard card base. You take a sheet of 8.5 by 11, cut it in half, and then fold it in half. This happens to be cut at 4 1/4 and then scored and folded at 5 1/2. So you get 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it's what they call a tent fold because it stands up like a tent. And I did that so I could wrap the linen thread around it when I'm done. And then you're going to take another mat, and this mat is just going to be 1/8 of an inch smaller, so it's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 inch. This is Island Indigo. I'm going to do a different color. On the original card, I used the Attic Boutique Designer Series paper. It's still available right now in the clearance section at Stampin' Up! If you want it. For today's card, I'm going to use the Venetian Romance. It's a really pretty pack. And this piece is 4 by 5 1/4. So you can see once we get it done, it will all be layered together like that. But for now, we're going to set the card base aside, and we're going to set this aside, and we'll work on this. I am not good at drawing. That's why I thought I was not an artist, because I can't draw at all. So what I did to make my heart was to use the hearts framelets, and I just used it as a template. Now, if you want to do this, I would suggest using a pencil. I used the mechanical pencil, but on this darker paper, I'm not sure it will show up on camera, so I'm going to go ahead and use a marker. It should all be covered up, so it's not really a big deal. Place the heart framelit where you want it. I left a little bit hanging off. You could use a smaller heart and do the entire heart on the center. That'd be really pretty too. I, for some reason, wanted it off-centered, so I have it off-centered here. I also wanted to leave a space here because I wanted to put a little tag hanging down, and or when I first started, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to end up with. I thought I might stamp a sentiment down there. So keep in mind where you might want to put other layers when you're doing it. And then you simply trace hopefully that shows up enough on camera for you to see. And that will be your guideline. The next thing you're going to do is to punch out your blossoms. Now, I've got a bunch of just scrap paper I'm going to use to punch these out, but you can also punch out the center of your mat. This will make your card a little bit less bulky, and it's going to be covered up, so no one's going to see that anyways. You just want to make sure that you don't get it too close to the edge because you don't want those flowers to show through. So you just punch it out, or you can put it in and punch this way. If you haven't used a Stampin' Up! Punch before, it comes to you closed like this. To open it, you just simply slide this and it pops open. And then you want to make sure you don't get your hands, because I tend to get my fingers caught in there. Don't get your fingers caught, but you just push it together and it punches it out. It's really easy to use. And then to close it up, you just squeeze it together and push it closed. You're going to end up needing way more of these than you probably think you will. But punch out several of the boho blossom punches. I know I needed more of the 2 smaller sizes than the big one, so I came in and, let me show here. I came in and just positioned this, because when you push it upside down you can see where it's going to punch, and punched out extra of those smaller 2. You're also going to need these 2 punches from the Bitty Punch Pack. This one kind of looks like a cross. You're going to need just a ton of these, so punch a bunch. You're also going to need this flower, kind of a scallopy flower, and you'll need a bunch of these too, so just get to punching. Now here's a little tip for you to wrangle all these bitty pieces. Just put them into an empty container. This one had the antique brads, so just hold all of your punches in the container. If you have 2 colors, you can do one in the lid and one in the container, and then your extra ones will go in there. I'm going to give you another little tip. When you're cutting or punching a lot of things, it can be hard to get into the middle, and you don't want to waste any of that paper. So just trim around it, and then you'll be able to come back in and punch even more. My next step is to just cover up this heart with the little cross flowers. And I did this so that if there's any gaps underneath, you won't see the line and you won't see the paper. I also did it just to add some extra dimension. You can skip this step and just do flowers all the way around. Take your 2-way glue pen and just do a small section of your heart, and then just place these down next to each other, following the line that you drew with your heart framelit. When you get one section done, go to the next. You don't want to do the entire heart at once, because with the 2-way glue pen, it goes on as just a regular glue. When it dries, it becomes a repositionable glue, kind of a tacky, like a back of a Post-it note would have. And I wanted these to just stay on there, so that's why I do it in small sections going all the way around. To make the biggest flower, I took the biggest boho blossom flower punch, put a little dab of 2-way glue in the middle, get the star flower punch from the same boho blossom, stick that in the center, add another little dab of your the Tombow, the green glue, and your small scallopy flower from the I think it's Itty Bitty or Bitty Punch Pack, and that will give you your biggest flower. For the next size down, I took my star flower And the cross flower from, this is the boho blossom, that's the bitty punch pack. Same thing, put a little bit of your Tombow glue in the center and put your flower on top of that. And our last flower uses the smallest scallop from the boho blossoms, and then the scallop flower from the bitty punch pack. So you end up with these 3 flowers, and then you'll end up filling in the gaps with just your extra little flowers. You might notice on this card that it's a little bit more dimensional and a little more popped up, whereas this is pretty flat. To do that, I just took one of these spritzer bottles filled with water and I spritzed my flowers, which made them, before I glued them together, I spritzed them, which made them a little more pliable, and then I just squeezed them into a little ball, just like that. You can do it without the water, but I think the water makes it easier. And then just pull them apart and layer them. Same way with the Tombow glue, but this will have more dimension. Let me see if I can zoom in. Can you see that this is just a little more popped up than that? So I glued them all together because it's easier to work in an assembly line fashion. And then once the glue has dried, which these ones weren't crumpled in advance, so they might kind of fall apart, I just crumpled them a little bit more. The more crumpled, the more mushed, the better, because it adds that dimension. But you can do them just flat too, especially if you plan on mailing these. So once you have all of your flowers ready to go, you'll come back to this piece. And what I did was I took my biggest flowers and I just placed them around the card in a few places. And I adhered them on the same way using the Tombow glue. And you want to just hold that glue 1, 2, 3, and that's usually good enough. Then I came in with my second size. Let me crumple this because I crumpled that one. And you'll place these in different areas. I did some, just snuck them right underneath. Then you'll take your next size down. You kind of get in the picture here. And I made sure I had one on the edge, these 2 edges, and the top and bottom. I wanted bigger ones on top and bottom, and I wanted to make sure that I got this so it was a little bit over the edge, but not so far over the edge that it would be bigger than the card front. And then you're just going to take what's left over and stick it in between. And just go all the way around until you've got your entire heart filled in. I put a big pearl in the center of the biggest one and in some of the medium ones, and I used the teeny tiny ones in the little flowers. So it takes time to do this, but it is a pretty easy card to make. And any leftover, if you have a leftover flower, that can go on the inside. I think that's really cute. But that's basically your card. Thank you for being patient with me and coming back and seeing my videos. I hope to be back to normal, well, normal for me, soon and posting videos again for you guys. I hope you find some time today to get a little bit creative. Thanks for joining me. Bye.